Welcome to our school's online information session. In the School of Information Science, we have the master's degree in library science, master's degree in information communication technology, and undergraduate in information communication technology. My name is Drew Brown, and I will be running the undergraduate information session. I also have Heather Burke with me.
Hi, everyone. I'm Heather Burke. I'm the Student Affairs Officer for the school, and I work primarily with our library science students and advising. Welcome, and it's good to meet you. I'll pass it along to Sarah Jane now.
Hi, I'm Sarah Jane. I am the Admissions Coordinator and Student Affairs Officer for the ICT Master's Program. So if you signed up for that session, I'll be talking to you more there. And we also have Ashley.
Hi, everyone. I'm Ashley DeWitt. I'm the admissions coordinator for the library science program. So if you are here for that part of the session, you'll be with Heather and I in just a few minutes. And we also have Evan.
Hi, everyone. I'm the IT specialist. I see that you guys already have your breakout rooms set. So once Drew releases you to there, I will open all the rooms.
All right, go for it, Evan.
Now, all right, so we are recording. Welcome everybody to the library and information science portion of our online information session. Heather and I are really glad that you could join us today. We expect the presentation to take about 30 minutes, and then we'll have time for questions, or if you've got questions throughout the presentations, feel free to ask them. We're always happy to answer whatever questions you have. And I would love if my computer, there we go, would cooperate with me. So this is a 36 credit hour program that is 12 classes. It's pretty standard for a master's degree. Our degree is completely online. So even if you're here in the Lexington area, you will still be taking fully online classes. And our classes are asynchronous, meaning that you don't have to be online at a particular time on a particular day for class. We find that the asynchronous model offers more flexibility, which is important for our students, many of whom are working full-time or part-time or have other responsibilities. We understand that your schedule in August may not be your schedule in November. So our classes follow an asynchronous model. So they still start and end with the regular semester. It's not a free-for-all. But most of the time your instructors will say, okay, we're gonna have a weekly schedule. So our weeks will start on Monday, they'll end on Sunday. Here's the things that you need to get done this week. And then it's up to you to set aside time during your week to accomplish those tasks. The nice thing about this program is that online students at UK qualify for a special online only tuition rate, which is actually a little bit lower than the resident in-state rate. And that's true even if you live out of state. So say you start the program here in Kentucky, you get a great job in Ohio, you have to move halfway through the program, that online rate follows you. Likewise, if you're in Washington state already, you just start with the online rate, it doesn't matter. So this is true for all of our students. So we'll talk a little bit more about that actual rate a little further into the presentation. So we've got about 300 students in the program right now, a nice size. We are like right in the middle in terms of program size, not the biggest, not the smallest, right in the sweet spot. We are one of the oldest programs though. We have been teaching classes in library science here at UK since 1918. And we've been doing distance education for over 30 years at this point. So we currently have 10 full-time faculty. We may add a few more next year, which is very exciting. We're in that process right now. And then if you're interested in our new US News and World Report rankings, we are 17th overall for library science programs, 3rd in health information, and then also we're ranked 11th in school library media and 12th for services for children and youth. Our program actually started as preparation for practicing teachers. So we're very happy that this has been a strong aspect of our program across all the years. So before I get into academics, does anybody have any questions about the information I just shared? Okay, we'll keep going. And I should mention at any point, you're welcome to speak or you can type in the chat. Heather will be monitoring that. It's nice that we can tag team it because I know for some of you, if you're in an office, you may not want to talk out loud and that's okay. So I mentioned some of our concentrations. This is the list of all the ones that we currently have. Things that you would expect: academic and public libraries, school libraries, I mentioned, youth services and literature, health information. We also have information technology and systems for people that are interested in more the backside of our field, the how everything works part of it. And then also generalists. If you have interest across a lot of areas, it's perfectly fine to say, you know what, I'm going to come in as a generalist. I want to take classes across the field. The important thing to remember about the concentrations is that they're not formal degree designations. This isn't going to appear anywhere on your transcript or in the UK systems. This is something that we use internally so that we know where your interests are. You're also welcome to change concentrations in the middle of the program. You may take 3 or 4 classes and discover some new area that really is of interest to you. Perfectly fine to change your concentration. And you can mix and match across things. So if you're interested in health information and information technology systems, we'd love for you to take classes recommended for both. The one concentration that's a little bit different is our school libraries concentration. And that's because those students are earning their Master of Science in Library Science, but they're also taking classes to fulfill certification requirements to be school library media specialists, so to be public school librarians. And so those have to be practicing teachers. So they don't have quite as much wiggle room as other students in the program, but they do have some choice in their coursework for things like literature and technology. Speaking of which, let's talk about course planning. So I mentioned earlier that this is 12 classes. This is how that breaks down. So everyone takes the same 4 core classes, 600 through 603. The course numbers are sequential. The classes are not. You can actually take them in any order. 600 is an introduction to our profession, who we are, what we do, why it matters. 601 is about information seeking. So how do we find information quickly and efficiently? How do we match people with information that meets their needs? 602 is kind of the flip side of 601. It's about knowledge organization. So how do we create information systems? How do we organize information in such a way that we can then search it, that we can make sense of it? And then 603 is our foundational management class. Everyone in this field manages something. Some people might manage like a whole library system, or you might be in charge of the craft supplies for summer reading, but you're going to manage something. So we like to make sure all of our students have a good foundation in management and leadership and teamwork skills to take with them into the field. Outside of the 4 core classes, you have to take at least 1 technology. We always recommend taking as many as you're interested in, just because technology does have such a huge influence on this field. But we have 636, which is kind of a foundational technology class. If you don't feel like tech is your strong suit, that is typically a good place to start. Or if you feel like you're a little advanced and don't need to start with a foundational class, you can take something like our 668, which is all about database building, or also some of our special topics classes. They have the course number of 690. Some of those are IT focused as well. And Heather always does a great job when she builds the catalog. She'll note specifically which 690s count as a technology class so that you never have to wonder about it. Outside of the 4 core and the 1 technology, you've got 7 electives. You can pick anything in our catalog, including our 672, which is a practicum class. You can get course credit for an internship. And by all means, please be paid. We want you to be paid. Our preference is for paid internships all the way. And also 695, which is an independent study class. So if you're interested in something and you really want to look into it in more depth, and we just don't have a class on it in the curriculum, as long as you have a full-time faculty member who agrees to supervise you, you can design your own class. Now, both of these classes are something that you would do after your first 18 hours, so after your first 6 classes in the program. I want you to have a good, firm foundation before we set you loose on classes like this. Some elective options.
Sorry, I wanted to jump in regarding the practicum. You are not in any way required to do a practicum. For this program, it's not a graduation requirement, but we do strongly recommend it for students who are coming in who may not have library experience or who want to maybe get additional experience in another area of the field. So that is something you can do with the practicum. You can also repeat the practicum course as long as it's a different internship project. So you could get up to a year of experience in terms of a full academic year through the practicum, and have that under your belt before you graduate. So if you have questions about the practicum here or anything like that, I do coordinate that and work with our employee relations for that. So just let me know.
And one clarification point. So the practicum isn't required for our students that are only in the MSLS program. If you are a school library student, there is a required practicum for school library students because the students have to have that to meet the certification requirements. It's a separate course number though, 676, right, Heather? Yeah,
that's correct. And we, with that practicum, you wouldn't be doing that until you were very far into your school media curriculum. And we actually do work with our education office on placements for those teachers so that we're not conflicting with your working schedule. So just know that that's just the case for school media, and it's going to be way further down the line. You'll have lots of assistance.
Yeah, definitely. So this is an example list of our elective. It's not exhaustive, but it just gives you an idea of some of the things that we have on offer. Things like 612, Youth Literature for a Diverse Society. We have a class on public libraries, a class on academic libraries, as you might expect. Also 661, Introduction to Data Science, or 665, Digital Libraries, very popular classes among our students. And then I mentioned before, we have our 690s, which are our special topics classes. So this is a chance for us to try out some new classes. And sometimes when these are really popular, they become standard classes. They get their own course number. So that happened for a couple classes this semester. But things that we have offered in the past are things like intellectual freedom, literature and related materials for early childhood. So the 690s are always a great place to look just to see what's being offered. Heather will put the course titles and descriptions in as she has them so that you know what they are. And it's not just like 690, section 2, what is this? So we're always happy to answer questions. I did want to briefly go over school librarian course plan, just in case we have anyone watching the recording that applies to. So again, the same 4 core classes, 600 through 603. And then our school library students have their specialization courses. So they all have to take these 4 classes: Administration of School Media Centers, Current Trends in School Media Centers, the School Media Practicum, which we've already mentioned, and then the 4th class, Organization of Knowledge. Sometimes we have that on offer, but often there are other classes that can fulfill that requirement. So our students work with the school library media program faculty advisor, Dr. Marie Cahill, to choose a class that best fits their course plan. So there's some choice there. And then there's also choice among the literature and the technology classes. So for the literature classes, we've got 610, 612, 614, that special topics class that we're offering. That's this semester, isn't it, Heather, this spring? Maria's class?
I'm not sure if we're offering it this spring, and I am also pretty sure that it's going up for its own course number, so that'll be a regular literature offering as well. So we'll have
excellent
4 instead of 3, which would be great.
So 4 classes with potentially more in the future. We can't say yet. And then 2 technology classes. There's one class that is specific to school media technology that these students take, and then they pick another class. So our technology classes, our educational leadership over in the College of Education program has some online classes. So there are options there as well. So let's move into some student opportunities. One thing that makes this program a little different from other ALA accredited master's programs is that we have something called alternative spring break. Our students are about to do this next week. So typically during the university spring break, which is the 2nd or 3rd week of March, we send about 8 to 10 students to Washington, D.C. and surrounding areas, and they intern at places like the National Library of Medicine, Smithsonian libraries. We've had students partner with National Archives and with Library of Congress in the past. As you can imagine, the pandemic has made this look a little interesting for the last 3 years. So actually our students are doing virtual internships this year since travel is still a little up in the air, but we're hoping that we're back to in-person placements next year. But we're always grateful for our students to have the opportunity to go work in some of these premier institutions to really get some unparalleled hands-on experience, meet with the professionals working there, It is an application-based program, so we typically put the call for applications out sometime in the fall once I've confirmed all of our partner organizations for that year. We usually have positions, placements announced by the end of the fall semester or the very beginning of January. And then, as I mentioned, the students complete the program in March, and the School of Information Science provides $1,000 of scholarship money to help offset the cost of participating, whether that's taking a week off of work or when it's a physical program, having to travel and having housing. So it's a great opportunity. Any questions? Because we've just thrown a lot of information at you. You guys are great, making this easy. So tuition and financial aid. So as I mentioned early on, we have a special online only rate. So these are the rates for 2021, 2022. This is accurate through this summer. And then the rates change again, as they do every academic year. But we haven't seen really steep increases, maybe $100, maybe a couple $100 for a full-time load. So maybe $30 or $40 per class. But it's always good to look at the new tuition information as it comes out, usually June or July each year, but it's always on the UK Registrar's website. So for an online only student going full-time, and for a graduate student, that is 3 classes or 9 hours in a fall or spring semester, the current rate is about $6,300, which you'll notice is less than the $6,800 for a resident. Or if you're going part-time, it's $750 per credit hour, about $2,100 a class. The math basically works out evenly either way. So that's accurate for this year. But again, always look at the registrar's website. And then in terms of application deadlines, we are still admitting students for summer right now. So if you wanted to start this June 2022, we will accept applications through next week, March 15th. If you're looking ahead to the fall, perfectly fine. We're accepting applications for fall through July the 1st. And if you're looking ahead to next spring, spring of 2023, and that feels weird to say, the deadline for that is November the 15th. Now, the nice thing about this is those deadlines stay consistent year to year. So if something happens and you need to put grad school off for a year, totally fine. The deadlines will be the same. July 1st for fall, November 15th for spring, March 15th for summer. We like to keep them consistent just because it's a lot easier on people. Questions about the information on this page?
I was actually curious how much or how many of the classes are actually offered in the summer.
So summer schedule is smaller, definitely smaller. We usually have at least 2 of the core classes, usually a technology class, often 636, and then a smattering of electives. So Heather, total, it's maybe, what, 7 to 10 classes in the summer?
Yes, so we have usually the majority of the core classes, at least 2 of them, sometimes all of them, 636. We'll also have a number of the classes that are offered for the school librarian program, such as the 648 class that they take, as well as 612, which is one of the literature classes. And that is just helpful for our teacher students who are able to take more classes in summer. With that said, we usually recommend for students coming in summer and taking classes in summer because it's considered an optional semester. It's not ever billed at the full-time rate. So there's no real, it's always going to be billed at the part-time rate. So just keep that in mind. And we do offer classes only in the last 8 weeks, which is that kind of June to August period. So if you're thinking about a regular semester, you're looking at about 16 weeks. So you're cutting that in half. So the pace in summer is quite fast.
Gotcha.
So that is just one thing to think about. But we do have a number of electives that are pretty much staples now for summer. The youth literature for a diverse society. We have social media for information organizations, 631, which is also offered as an IT elective. And then in recent years, we've also had classes like academic libraries, law librarianship is offered in summer as an elective. And then we have a couple of special topics classes like intellectual freedom. And this year we're actually going to have one on disability awareness and librarianship and resources. So like assistive technologies in libraries, which is going to be a fantastic course. I'm really excited to see. It's the first time we've offered it, so we're really excited to see how that goes this summer. So while you can't take a lot of different electives in terms of the availability you see in fall and spring, there's certainly opportunities to do that in the summer. And there's also opportunities probably on a more limited basis to do practicum or independent study in summer, just based on faculty availability and things like that. But I work with those students to plan that in advance if that's the case. So yep, that's a great question. So summer, you're looking at 8-week classes, and typically I would say students don't take more than 2 just because of that length of time. That's a great question.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Amber. So scholarships and funding, always a popular question. We are very happy when our students get scholarships. We want you to apply for all the things because it's always great when someone else helps you fund your degree. So there are some internal things and some external things. For internal options, we have the graduate school offers fellowships. These are typically the most competitive form of funding, simply because you're competing against all the other graduate students at the university. And I think they award about a dozen every year, but it's always a good idea to look at the eligibility requirements just to see what you might qualify for. And I will say we are going to send the presentation out with a recording probably tomorrow. So don't feel like you have to like write all of this down. We're going to give it to you, no problems. There's also usually assistantships every year. I think last couple of years we've had about 4. So these students work in an on-campus library here at UK from August to August, and that covers their tuition for fall and spring semesters. They have health insurance and they get a small stipend. But you do have to be close enough to Lexington that you can work here on campus. We don't have any virtual opportunities right now for assistantships. What is open to everyone in the program, regardless of where you are or how many classes you're taking, are our scholarships. We have some school funded scholarships that we do. They're modest, usually like $500 to $1,500 a piece. So they can help offset books or the cost of part of one class. And those applications are due June 15th. So I will mention, if you are thinking of applying for fall, back your deadline up from July 1st. You need to have your program application in at the same time you have your scholarship application in. So if you want to apply for a scholarship, get your program application in probably June 1st instead of July 1st, so that we have enough time to consider you for admission before we can consider you for funding. Outside of UK, you have options for larger scholarships. So as you would expect, the American Library Association is a huge supporter of students in this field. We did just pass their deadline for this coming academic year. It's always March 1st every year. They usually release that application sometime in September or October. But these scholarships can be several $1,000s a piece. And some of them repeat across semesters. And some of them you can apply for in multiple years. So always worth looking at those. Beta Phi Mu, which is our honor society, has in the past done scholarships for master's students. I think for the last couple of years, they've limited it to PhD level students just because of some funding issues, but it's always good to look there just to see if they bring them back. And then the other place is your state library association. So Kentucky Library Association has 2 scholarships that they award. And what's nice is that every student in this program is eligible to apply for these, even if they live outside of Kentucky, because of the way that they write the rules for this. So what the application has said, and what I expect it will say again this year, is that you have to either be a Kentucky resident in an ALA accredited program, or you have to be in the ALA accredited program here at UK, whether or not you're a resident. And look at your home state if you're outside of Kentucky, because their rules might be the same and you may be able to apply for both, which is always nice. Cast your nets wide. And I saw that we had a couple of things in the chat. I just wanted to look. Heather, thank you for sending the link out.
You're very welcome. And I wanted to add, for anyone who's considering summer admission, that being admitted in summer does not preclude you from applying for those scholarships. They are awarded in fall, but if you are admitted in summer, you can also apply by that deadline for any of the school-sponsored scholarships as well. So just know that that is the case for you as well.
Yep, thanks for that. Whoop, sorry. So how to apply? In terms of our admissions requirements, we're looking for an undergraduate GPA of a 3.0 or higher. If you've done any previous graduate level work, we'd like to see a 3.0 there as well. A question I often get is, I'm coming from such and such field. Can I still apply? My background's not in library science. Yes, absolutely. What we need is a degree from an accredited institution. It doesn't matter what field it was in, and actually, library science is one of those fields where it's a benefit to you no matter which field you come from, because it means that you have subject knowledge in that field already. It's like my background was in history, so I already know a lot about history and history sources that helped me in this program. We also have students come from the hard sciences, theology. Basically, if there is a major, there's been a student in this program that has that major. So you will be in good company. We're looking for 3 letters of recommendation that can be any combination of academic or professional references. If you've been out of school for a while and you don't have any academic references, that's okay. 3 professional references are fine. Your boss, even your coworkers. And also, if you're having some trouble, think about any volunteer activities that you do, because we're also more than happy to accept recommendations from volunteer coordinators or people in those kinds of capacities. We'd also like to see a personal statement, nothing too long, about 200 to 300 words, where you answer 2 questions for us. 1, why do you want to go into this field? What is it about being a librarian, being an information professional that excites you? What are you trying to do? And then the second part is, why is our program at UK a good fit for whatever it is that you want to do as a librarian or information professional? And the last piece is a current CV or resume, just so we can see what kind of professional experiences you've had. Now you will see space in the application for other things. I think, Amber, I just saw a question from you about this. And the reason that you see that space is that every graduate program at UK shares the same application portal. So there'll be space for a writing sample. We don't require one, you can leave it blank. There'll be space for a portfolio, not something we require either. You can leave that part blank. If it's on this list, we want it. If it's not on this list, ignore that section. It is a very common question, so I totally understand the confusion, but that is the explanation. It's because other programs require it, so the application has to have space for everything that any program requires. And if at any point you get confused about the application or something isn't working, please do email me so that I can help you troubleshoot. I can see into the back end of the system. I have a dummy application, so I can usually help you figure out how to get around whatever problem's happening. In terms of actually getting to the application, there are a lot of ways to do this. This is the most direct way to get there. Fewest clicks, which is always nice. So starting on our graduate school's website, which very conveniently is gradschool.uky.edu, we'll pull up a page that looks very similar to this. That second column, prospective students, the first item down, apply, will take you straight to the application portal. And so if you haven't already, you'll be asked to create a login name, user information. If you have, it will automatically switch to the login part of that page so that you can just log into the application itself. Yes, and Heather made a good point. So when it asks you for transcripts, a couple of things to note. An unofficial transcript is perfectly fine for the application. You don't need to order an official one. Unless you hear otherwise from me. Sometimes unofficial transcripts don't have everything we need on them, but 90% of the time they are fine. So start with that. Don't order your transcripts yet. And the other thing is, we do need a transcript from every institution you've attended, even if you transferred those credits. And even if those credits appear on the institution transcript where you got your degree, it's 15 hours is kind of that threshold. So if you earned 15 hours of transfer credit at any institution that you then use for your bachelor's degree or master's or whatever, I also need a transcript from that first institution. But again, unofficial ones are totally fine. If you don't have access to an unofficial one, and you will have to order the official transcript, don't send it to yourself. Send it straight to me. I can give you a copy to put in your application, and I can forward the official one to the graduate school. The advantage here is that the graduate school still considers that an official transcript. So if you're admitted, you won't have to send it again. If you send it to yourself, even if it says official, the graduate school will no longer accept it as an official transcript because it's come from the institution to you and then to you to us. So just skip you, send it to me, and I will facilitate that whole process for you. But most of the time, everyone can access their unofficial transcripts, and this is okay. This is another case of, if you have questions, just email me. And I'm happy to give you some guidance on your specific situation, because I know some things are different for some people. So you don't have to go it alone. I am here to help make this process easier for you. And that is the end of our presentation. So speaking of emails, you can always get to me at ashdewitt@uky.edu. If you want to get in touch with Heather, you can reach her at sis@uky.edu. And then of course our website. So at this point, we'll just open the floor for whatever questions that you have, whatever we didn't cover that you're still curious about.
I think you'll just be getting another email from me, Ashley.
That's fine, Amber.
Yeah.
I'm here for you. We'll get you sorted out.
Appreciate it.
Yeah, pretty much same here. I'm literally 2 floors down from you, so I could just come up and say hello.
So you are just downstairs.
Yeah.
Well, that's handy. I was like, I feel like I recognize what's blurred behind you, but maybe I'm just imagining things.
No, you're not.
Oh, that's good. Hey,
Hi.
nice to see you. Yeah, no, you can always come up and ask questions, Amanda. I'm usually here. I'm still like splitting my time, but I'm
Okay.
usually in the office the mornings of Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday.
Awesome.
And if we need to meet outside of that, we'll just schedule something. It's fine.
Thanks.
And I'm still, I'm fully remote, but like Ashley said, I'm available all the time. So if you have questions about any aspect of the program or questions about like university stuff, for instance, if you're a UK employee, you might be looking to do EEP credit. So we can help with that as well. There's not really a lot of questions that Ashley and I have not answered, but if we ever do find one that we haven't answered yet, we work together and we get that answer for you. That's what we're here for. One great thing about our program is that you have this level of student support. Not all graduate programs here or elsewhere necessarily have like a full-time staff member or student affairs team specifically for that degree area. And we're really proud of our library science students and this program. And we're always looking to make things better and easier for you. So if you do have any questions, let Ashley or I know, and we will look forward to hearing from you. And we're going to be sending out the recording after this is over. So thanks so much.
Any other questions that we can answer now? And if not, we're so glad that you guys took the time to join us today. It's always nice when we have actual people to talk to. And we're here and we're happy to help. So you're not bothering us. If you have questions, please don't feel anxious about it. Like, we really do want to answer your questions and make this a really positive experience for you.
As a reference librarian that I work for once said, please bother me, that's my job. So I'm always more than happy. And also, if there's something that's really in depth that you need help with or walk through, Ashley or I can schedule time to even Zoom with you as well. So just know that there's lots of different ways we can connect with you and help you out if you need it.
So you don't have any questions, you can leave straight from this room. You don't need to go back to the main Zoom room. But we'll hang around for a minute or two more. And if not, have a great rest of your afternoon.
All right, thank you.
You're so welcome.
That was the wrong button. Just wanted to say thank you, guys.
You're welcome.
Thank you all for coming.
So I actually have a question. Hi, I'm Morgan, by the way.
Hey, Morgan.
Hi. So I kind of wanted to know more. I saw that there's like an accelerated kind of pathway to getting the degree. And I'm interested to know a little more about that. I don't know if there's even any like statistics or anything about like how many people kind of go that path, what it's like. I think I saw there was something like you maybe have to get special, like you kind of have to be approved to do like an accelerated.
So it's more that we just need you to apply early, sort of well in advance of the deadlines, because you need more seats in classes. We need time to make sure that we have those seats for you. So like, for instance, registration for summer and fall opens at the end of this month. So a student that applies and wants to be an accelerated student on July 1st, well, we may have already filled up all the classes at that point. So we may not have 4 classes for you to take. So the earlier you can apply for accelerated pre your deadline, the more chance we have to make sure that we have 4 classes for you. The other thing about the accelerated program is that the best sort of cost savings it does for you is if you plan on a fall, spring, fall, or a spring, fall, spring. Because as Heather mentioned, summer tuition is always billed at the part-time rate. So if you take 4 classes in the summer, you will be billed for all 4 classes. If you take 4 classes in the fall or the spring, you're at the full-time rate. So you actually don't pay tuition for the 4th class. You'll still pay the fees, but there's not an additional tuition charge for it. So you just pay the full-time rate, and that's the flat rate. Even if you're taking 4 classes, or sometimes students take 5, and I don't know how they manage it, but it does happen. The most feasible way to do accelerated is a 4-4-4. 4 classes in the fall, 4 in the spring, 4 in the fall, or spring, fall, spring, if that's what you want to do.
Ashley, can I jump in?
Yeah.
So I did just 100% what she said. The 4-4-4 is the best way to go on that, and cost savings is a spring or fall, or fall, spring, fall, or spring, fall, spring. With if you are looking to do the expedited path because you are trying to shorten your time to degree, so it's not necessarily a cost thing, but I need to get this degree very quickly. I've had that happen for students where it's a matter of promotion internally at a library they're working at, or things like that. Then you can actually do that by taking some.
I think we lost Heather. So I'll pick up. So the quickest way to do it is actually a 12-month plan. We lost you for a second, Heather. So the 12-month plan would be 1 fall, 1 spring, 1 summer semester. So you just take all of your classes back to back to back. Most of the time, what students choose to do in that situation is 5 in a fall or a spring, and then 3 in the summer, just because those are the 8-week classes and they're already so fast, and then 4. We've had students do sort of a 4-4-4 with the summer, but 4 classes in the summer is a lot insane.
Yes.
I won't sugarcoat it. That is a lot of work to try to cram into 8 weeks for graduate level classes.
I'm not sure when you lost me there. I apologize for my internet there, Morgan. But with the biggest thing with the expedited plan is that you are going to want to be very conscious of registration windows, because you're going to, again, need more seats in classes than other students. So we always send out those reminders to students. They go out to all the faculty advisors at Hubs and Canvas. So you'll see it where you're taking classes. And we also send it to the student email list, which are added to when you are first registered for classes when you're admitted. So you'll want to just keep that in mind. And then you may not have the same elective choices as other students as well, because you don't have that spread over multiple semesters. So if you're only going to have, say, like 1 spring semester, it's really important, if there are classes that are being offered in spring that you really want to take, to make sure you're planning ahead and that you're registering as soon as possible for those, and that you have alternates in case those fill. And we have a course planning form that is built into our advising process that you can use to kind of plan out your classes. It'll list which classes are available each semester. And then I do the schedules for the school. So anytime that you're wondering about if something's going to be offered, I'm typically working like a semester ahead.
Or 2, or a whole year.
I'm working on fall 2022 right now.
No, 2023. You've already done 2022.
Yeah. I'm always like one step ahead of that. So I usually have my finger on the schedule and can search for that relatively quickly, but it doesn't change normally too much each semester. We usually have some different special topics and things. So there's some level of predictability that makes it a little bit easier when you're schedule planning. And then you have the advising hub as a tool, the course planning form as a tool. We have walkthroughs. And then for all new students, we do a welcome session that's it's on Zoom, it's optional. I even do individual sessions sometimes if students can't make it, just one-on-one, and we go through all of this and kind of what does the registration process look like? What do our courses actually look like in Canvas? Things like that. So that will become a lot more transparent as you go through the admissions to advising and registration process. Just with that expedited path, being on task with that registration planning is going to be very important, just so that you're able to get the courses that are really of interest to you, since you have to have more of them in a given semester.
And Morgan, I know you asked about like how many students do this. It's not the most common pathway. Actually, most of our students are part-time. So most people complete the degree within 2 to 3 years, and you can still do it in 2 years going part-time if you take summer classes. But we do have sort of a small group of maybe 20 or 30 students out of the 300 that choose this expedited path, that want to do it a little faster. So it's not like you'll be the lone fish out there swimming faster than everyone else. There are other people who do this, but it does require a lot more free time that many of our students just simply don't have. So yes, it happens. We have support for it. The main takeaways are apply as soon as you can. And register as soon as your registration window opens, and be flexible in which classes you're willing to take. Those are the 3 sort of pieces of advice for success as an expedited student. And if at any point you have questions, always contact Heather and myself, because we're happy to sort of facilitate and help you navigate whatever is happening.
And you're always welcome, by the way, even if you start as a part-time student and move up the next semester and take classes full-time, or take 4 classes if it's a fall or spring, or however you want to organize that. We don't really police the number of classes that you're taking. So I have students who they start off with maybe 1 or 2 classes, and then the next semester they decide, you know what, I really think I can handle an above full-time load. I'm going to go ahead and take 3 or 4. Or you might have stuff happen and you say, hey, this semester I'm going to go back down to just 1 or 2 classes because that's going to work out better for me. And that way you can balance your personal and professional, and then your academic life. And we have other options and resources available as well to help students with that. So just know that you're never locked into the course rate that you came in on.
So
Okay,
great
perfect.
question, Morgan. I'm glad you asked that.
Oh, thanks. Yeah, that was really helpful. Yeah, my plan is I would probably be at least full-time student starting off. I mean, I feel like first semester probably gives a really good idea of what can be handled and all that. So that's really good to know. And then I just have one more question, and I don't know if you have this information, but in terms of like admission, is there any sort of like, I don't know, average GPA or anything that is, you know, kind of your standard for acceptance?
So our requirements of 3.0, a lot of our students fall on that 3.5 or higher in terms of who's admitted. But that's not to say that you can't be admitted with a 3.0. Most of the time we are able to take our students who apply with our admissions requirements, as long as we have space, and currently we do. Where it can get a little trickier is if you have a GPA that is below a 3.0. In that case, and this is maybe not something that applies to you guys, but maybe something that will apply to someone watching the video. We will consider people for admission with below a 3.0, but they do have to write an additional statement for us that sort of gives us some context for that number. However much information they are willing or feel comfortable sharing. We don't want people to divulge things that they don't want to tell. But just to give us a little context to understand the number, because we have to base some admissions things on GPA, right? It's a standard measurement, but that's a number that doesn't tell us a complete story about anyone, and we recognize that. So we always ask for that additional statement.
And in addition to that, we do have the CV or resume as part of the application process, because we have students who have experience in the field, whether that's volunteer, part-time, full-time. you know, that is something that our admissions committee will look at as well, because this is a professional master's program. And so work experience is also important. And especially if you've been working like really long time in the field, and maybe your GPA doesn't reflect some of the professional experience that you also have. So that statement is a place to make that case as well. And then if you have that experience, then definitely include that in your CV or resume. We really look at everything holistically.
And Morgan, the other place to really make your application shine is actually the personal statement. And specifically that question about why is our program a good fit for your needs? That's really the best place to make a case for why you're a good candidate for admission to this MSLS program, because we're not, and no MSLS is a one size fits all, right? Every program has different areas of specialty. And so we have ours, and that makes us a good fit for people who want to go into things like school libraries and youth services and health information. And then we have other places like archives, say, where we only have a small little pool of courses, right? That's not a focus of our program, but programs like Kent State or Alabama have really well-developed coursework in those areas. So we just want to make sure that we're going to be a good fit for whatever it is our prospective students are trying to do. Because otherwise we want to make sure that you're in a program that is a good fit for that. Like, we want you to achieve your professional goals, whether that's with us or with one of our other sister programs. So
Okay,
all very
great,
good
thank you.
questions. I love great questions. Anything else before we turn you loose for the afternoon?
Well, one more thing is, so I don't really have experience in libraries. I've applied for jobs and I haven't heard back, like that sort of thing. So if my resume just has a bunch of retail stuff, is that just going to be, thrown
That's
away?
exactly what I was when I started the program. I had
Oh,
no library
really?
experience at all.
Oh,
And
okay.
actually, Amber, that is not uncommon in this program.
Okay.
A lot of people come into this field having a love and appreciation for what libraries do, but having never actually worked in one. So
Yeah.
that's totally fine. It's not a knock against you, but I would suggest, as you can through the program, try to do that practicum or independent study, something that gets you a little more hooked into the field. And you're already doing great things, applying for the jobs, trying to get that entry point. But field experience really does help. Alternative spring break is also a great way to get that. That was my first library job, was interning at the Library of Congress. So
Cool.
no, it's not anything to be worried about. I will say, as a person who started that way, there are a lot of acronyms in this field, a lot of acronyms. And people that have worked in this field know all of these acronyms. So don't panic. That first semester, when you get a bunch of them thrown at you, it does become easier over time to remember them all. That was my biggest, like, there's another acronym. But it all works out in the end. And the great thing is we also have a lot of students who have been working in libraries for years and years and years that will be your classmates. And so you bring a rich perspective, being someone who hasn't worked into the field, to really kind of poke holes in things and like question, well, why is this the way that it is? And then the people that have been in the field have that perspective of, hey, let me explain a little bit more about this sort of like theoretical concept. This is what it looks like in practice where I work. And so both of those things merging together make for a really incredibly rich program. So you're not at a disadvantage, you're just bringing a different perspective.
All right, sounds good.
And Amber,
you.
Ashley and I are both graduates of the program.
Mhm.
And like she said, when she came into the program, she did not have a library experience. I was sort of the opposite. I worked in lots of different kind of libraries. And did some like museum and archive stuff too. So like I have like that background. And then I ended up going a completely different direction when I graduated. And that was based on a lot of like the working experience that I even got in the program. So even though I had been working in a library full time, I still did a practicum because I was interested in other areas, and it helped me to kind of solidify what I wanted to do and to realize that I really liked working with people. which was it's not that the archives wasn't for me or something like that, or this area of librarianship wasn't for me, but I realized that I could do a lot with student services because that was where my heart was. And so library science is a very transferable skill.
We're sort of the poster children for that, since neither of us ended up in libraries.
But the great thing is that because of my experience in libraries and with so many librarians, that I'm able to do a lot for our students in terms of helping them with CV and resume, and how do I reach out about an internship or practicum, and helping them to build those connections. So we take those experiences and then are able to kind of funnel that out to you all as you go through the program to offer that extra support. So that's just something to kind of keep in mind. You're never on your own. And online programs can feel that way, I think, sometimes, but we have such a great student body, and it's because our students are all different and are coming from different perspectives and levels of experience that make it that way.
I see we're coming up on noon and we want to be respectful of your time. So if you have other questions, we're happy to answer them. But if you also need to go do something else, please feel free. But we'll be here, and whenever you have questions, we're always here to answer them.
All right, I appreciate it. And I know that someone will be getting an email from me pretty soon. So thank
here
you
for you.
all.
We'll get you
Thank
sorted
you.
out.
I really appreciate it. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. Have a great day.
Wonderful
Thank
day.
you.